Saltcast, the sleepover.
Find us on Facebook or Twitter. Thank you and have a good day.
Buckle up. This is the Saltcast. Hi there, this is Rob Rosenthal. It's good to have you along for the Saltcast, the backstory to great radio storytelling. I teach radio at the SALT Institute for Documentary Studies in Portland, Maine. SALT's one of the co-producers for this podcast. So is PRX, the Public Radio Exchange. We're about to go back in time. We're going to go to a place you've probably forgotten about, and maybe that's a good thing, as you'll hear. But we're going there with the help of producers Hillary Frank and Jonathan Menjivar. Hillary is an independent producer, and she writes books for teens. Jonathan is an associate producer at Fresh Air. They both live in Philadelphia. Where are they taking us, you might wonder? Back to when you were about 10 years old. Back to the sleepover. Oh, and hang around a bit. After this piece, we'll talk to Hillary and Jonathan about how they produced it. So here it is. Sleepover.
It's 7 o'clock. Early still. But Bryce says that when you sleep over at his house, you basically sign a contract. You fall asleep first. You're in for a prank.
I'm scared of falling asleep. Very scared. I'm not falling asleep.
If anybody drops
do you have Coke?
Like, no.
Do you have coffee? Do you have
Coffee, cappuccino, anything?
While the boys are scavenging for caffeine, the girls are hanging out at Claire's house. They're dancing on bunk beds and singing to their favorite Avril Lavigne song. The music's coming out of a pink Hello Kitty boombox.
All this time you were pretending, so much for my happy ending.
The girls know there's a boy sleepover happening just down the street. They're dying to know what's going on over there.
Boys, they're boys, and girls are girls. So it's a totally different world. Boys are so into those,
Video
games and like violence, stuff like that.
Yep, that's pretty close. The video games, at least. And the boys, they think they've got the girls figured out.
They're probably all like, oh, nail polish.
Not exactly. The girls don't seem to have much interest in makeup. They even seem confused when they find lip gloss in their goodie bags.
Okay, so maybe the boys don't have a clue. But they know they want to bother the girls. Scare them away from whatever it is they're doing. Around 8 o'clock, they pick up the phone.
Hello? This is Bryce. We're the other sleepover and stuff. Can we, prank call the girls?
Why you told them that we're prank all night?
It was the parent.
What did they say?
They said call back in 15 minutes.
Claire's dad lets the girls know what the boys are up to.
You have to call them back.
Who has their phone number?
They hit star 69. There's a lot of frantic passing the phone around as it rings.
Hello? Okay, this is actually a person from the music player, and I'm calling. Okay, never mind.
You guys are really bad prank callers.
Actually, they all are. Prank calling is about as primitive as you get when it comes to flirting, but none of them are able to play it cool enough to pull it off. The boys spend the next 3 hours doing things that come more naturally. They watch History of the World. They hug the PlayStation controllers. They call each other names.
You guys are retarded.
Your mom's retarded. Your mom's mom is retarded.
Meanwhile, the girls dive into their goodie bags.
Sugar. Candy.
And they play all kinds of games no one's ever written down the rules for. Zap, Mash, Winky, Blob.
A person gets picked to be Blob, and they have to put their sleeping bag over their head.
And then they have to find someone in a room and tackle them to the ground. It makes so much noise that Claire's dad comes upstairs.
Okay, guys. Let's get into some sort of sleep position. Let's just turn the lights out and...
What if we have fun, but without you knowing?
Let's see if you can do that.
This is the moment the girls have been waiting for all night. It's when they go from regular old hanging out to having a sleepover. They lie down in their sleeping bags, huddle their heads together, and get ready for some serious bonding.
The boys also start doing things they wouldn't do with their parents around. They start cussing, and they decide it's okay to watch a violent TV show because it's claymation.
It's clay blood.
It is clay blood.
Anything goes. It is almost midnight. Sebastian's even counting down.
Saturday in 30 seconds. It's a new day. I wonder if the boys are actually asleep?
They're not. Well, one of them is. Tyler's older than the rest of the boys by a couple of years, and all night he's let them know it. He called them spazzes and said he doesn't even really do sleepovers anymore. But then he was the one to fall asleep first. For Bryce, it means it's time to follow through on his prank contract. He can't decide whether to use Colgate or Tom's of Maine.
We're gonna put some toothpaste on his hand, get a feather, make him hit his face with the toothpaste.
They sneak back to the couch where Tyler is sleeping and place about a week's worth of toothpaste on his hand. He doesn't slap his face, but the toothpaste gets all over his shirt.
Put it on your head. That was good. That was good.
By the way, they went with Tom's of Maine.
The girls want to stay up too, not because they're afraid of each other, but because they want to connect. These hours with no threat of parents or little brothers barging in are sacred.
Life without sleepovers would be a disaster. Because it's like you'd have no time to tell your secrets and you'd be holding in all these things and like you hold it in and it's like you start to feel like droopy and lousy and like some things you're a little scared to tell your parents.
Things like crushes. Mimi's mom doesn't think she talks about boys yet, but she's the one who brings it up.
Ashley, who do you like?
Okay, hang on. The girls made me swear, no telling who we like on the radio.
You could learn to like him. I mean, you used to like him. So you could just go back then, think of all the good things you thought about him. Then you two could go out and you could get access to things like boy sleepovers, what they talk about.
Hate to break it to you, girls. While you're busy getting close, the boys are falling apart. They're spread out on couches across the room and barely saying anything to each other. Bryce is driven to playing a round of sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Against himself. Bryce eventually goes to sleep, so there's no more pranking to be afraid of. But the last two kids stay awake anyhow and watch Simpsons episodes they've already seen.
After this episode, I'm not fast.
Is there a point at which it stops making sense to stay up?
Yeah. We've done it before and we slept off the next day. Yeah. It was terrible.
Tomorrow's going to be terrible, too. It's 2:30 by the time they give in.
The girls are also losing steam.
Ashley, what? I'm bored. Go to sleep. I tried.
Finally, the last girl seems to have given up. She's hugging one of Claire's toys, a ball that lights up when you squeeze it. It glows green through the fabric of her sleeping bag.
That's Sleepover, produced by Jonathan Menjivar and Hilary Frank. They co-produced the piece in 2006 for Weekend America, and as you might imagine, they had a blast.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah.
I did. I don't know, did you?
Eventually, I had fun. Yeah. It was sort of torture while I was taping and with the boys. But yeah, it was great fun.
I mean, for me, it was like, I showed up at this house, and, this house of 10-year-old girls, and I'm much closer in age to their parents than to them. I'm, like, basically their parents' peer, and I get treated like I am the peer of the girls. Like I get let in on all of their activities. By the end of the night, I'm sitting in the dark with them on their sleeping bags and being included in their game of telephone. Like, yeah, that was fun.
The other thing is, I think, Hillary, you're 5'1".
Uh-huh.
And so you're not much taller than the girls. But I get to the boys' party, and I'm clearly an outsider. Like, I'm a foot taller than these guys, and they're really looking at me like, wondering what I'm doing there, and why I would want to hang out at a party with a tape recorder and a microphone. And instead of letting me in, like, they immediately start challenging me. They started playing hide and seek, and it was in this house. It's this 3-story plus a basement, so there's like 4 stories altogether, and they sort of just challenged me, like, okay, you want to be here, you want to be part of this party, you're going to play hide and seek. And so I'm running up and down the stairs with the tape recorder, trying to keep up and sort of out of breath and wondering, like, what the hell am I doing? How am I going to get any good tape out of this?
And was that why it was torture?
Yeah, I mean, the boys just would give me nothing, you know. They were sort of yes and no answers. So, yeah, it was really hard on my end. I mean, I came home and was just completely defeated, thinking, like, I don't know if this worked at all.
And on the other hand, I felt like everything out of their mouths on the girls' end was gold.
Something that just occurred to me while you were talking is that I wonder if there were privacy issues. If you had gotten in the way that you wanted to get in, you disappeared. And that the kids would act like they would normally act if you weren't there. And I'm guessing that when these kids are alone, they're talking about things they don't want anybody else in the world to know.
No, I was really clear with the girls in the way that I would be with any adult that I was recording for a documentary, where I said to them, look, this is going to go on the radio, right? And I want you to be aware I've got this tape recorder on the entire time that I'm here, and I want you to know that you shouldn't say anything that you don't want going on the radio, because kind of the way it works is that as I'm recording, I can use anything. And the one agreement I made with them was that I wouldn't use any names of the boys they liked, and I said that in the story.
We should have bleeped out the boys' names, though.
Next time.
And there will be a next time on this, I'm sure.
Right.
Did you guys spend the entire night there?
Just until they fell asleep. So it was like between 2 and 3 in the morning.
And so there was no interest in getting them waking up or, breakfast the next morning or anything like that?
I think we knew there wasn't going to be room for it. Like this was going to be like a 5 to 7 minute piece.
I think, too, like, at least for the boys' party, like, the drama is over once everyone's asleep. Once the first boy falls asleep and he gets pranked and everybody else falls asleep and is safe, then there's nothing left, really.
Yeah, I mean, also it's like, once they wake up, like, parents are there, they're having breakfast, and they're back to their normal selves. I think just once the magic is over, it's time to disappear.
How did you find these young people?
We just happen to know some people who have kids in the neighborhood, and so one of these moms just works at the corner store down the street from us, and I just approached her and asked her if she knew other kids, other parents who had kids in the neighborhood, and we just kind of set it up. We made sure that there was a girl and a boy sleepover happening on the same night.
What was it about the sleepover that got your attention? What about it says story?
Well, I think that over the course of a night, when a sleepover is occurring, that it's the arc is built in. You have the beginning of the night where there's all of this excitement and the night is full of potential. Anything could happen, and then stuff happens, and then you're either feeling fulfilled by the end of the night or disappointed. So there was inherent story built in.
Hillary, one time you and I were talking about story, and one of the things that you said was you try to answer a single question with a story. It's almost like you come up with a single overarching question to act as a framework. Can you talk about that idea?
Yeah, so I think sometimes when you're approaching a story, it can kind of be confusing, like how to approach it and how to structure it and how to get your arc. Like, it's not always so clear once you've gone and gathered your tape where the story should go and kind of what the big motivating factors should be in the story. So when I'm having that problem, and kind of in general, I try to come up with a single question that will drive the story. And I do that also with books. I try to come up with one question that the entire book is kind of trying to answer, and that kind of helps me focus and figure out where everything should go.
Question?
And so for this story, Sleepover, do you think that there was a single overarching question?
I think it's pretty simple with this one. It's just,
Boys and girls.
you know, what's the difference between boy and girl sleepovers?
When I think about it, I kind of wonder if the question was, what the hell goes on in there?
Yeah, and I guess, that's it too. I mean, it's what the heck goes on with girls and what the heck goes on with boys, you know, and then we just compare them.
Did you guys co-produce this piece?
It's not 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me how that worked. How did
Maybe
you
up to
divide up the
60.
labor? How did you make decisions?
We each individually logged our tape and then pulled tape and sort of, you know, in a frantic weekend said, like, you know, here's all the good stuff that I have. And then we kind of tried to match that up. And I think the surprising thing for both of us is that we, like, there are lines in the story that I say that Hillary wrote, and there are ones that she says that I wrote. That it was such a collaborative co-production that we were putting words in each other's mouths.
And do you have advice for other folks who co-produce in this way? Or just in any way, actually? Do you have advice for people who co-produce?
I think, and this goes for even just working with your editor, like, remember that it's not about you. It's about making the best piece possible. And so when you're taking criticism, especially, you know, if you're working with someone that you respect, then that criticism is not, you shouldn't take it personally. And I think it's especially important when you're working with a friend or someone you're married to, you know, like, they're not telling you that they don't like you or they don't think you're smart. You know, they're telling you, I know how good you are, and I want this piece to be as good as that.
I mean, I think the thing of it is that, like, we are each other's editors and collaborators all the time. You know.
Anyway, that was a sleepover
A radio producer
sort of thing.
Before
I listened to
edit, I can play a story.
Wizu-lp
first edit.
Radio Newark.
It's totally revealed that I cheat.
Science and psychology and
we both know
quantum all the time.
That our work
This is
wouldn't be as good.
Look up Radio Newark, innit?
Producers Jonathan Mehivar and Hillary Frank. And you heard them. They love a good critique. Got one for them? Visit the blog and let it rip. saltcast.org.